for this opportunity to interact with the participants who are participating in this orientation program on NEP 2020. So before I start my presentation on skill development, I would like to know from you all, what are your expectations from this particular session, and how much you know about skill development? What is skill development? What is vocational education training? What is being implemented in vocational education, particularly in schools and higher education institutions? So, if you can throw some light, it will give me a fair idea of how much you know about this skill development. So, anybody who would like to say something about skill development or your expectations from this session? Dr. Jyoti, would you like to say something?
Sir, actually, I just want to say that skill is just a enhancement of the personality a person, and it can develop an area to job, creating a job. एक नई जॉब क्रिएट करने के लिए अपने स्किल को डेवलप कर सकते हैं और अपने में नई संभावनाएं देखने के लिए एक स्टूडेंट में एक नई संभावनाएं देखने के लिए कि वो और क्या कर सकता है what are the capabilities of the student अगर हम उसको डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ स्किल्स से परिचित कराते हैं तो हो सकता है वो कुछ नया करने के लिए उसमें ये क्षमता डेवलप हो या कोई छिपी हुई प्रतिभा है तो वो बाहर निकल के आए तो एक बेटर ह्यूमन बीइंग बनाने में और नए तरीके से काम करने की क्षमता को डेवलप करने में और नए रास्ते तलाशने फ्यूचर में नए रास्ते तलाशने के लिए मुझे ये लगता है
वेरी गुड और कोई कुछ कहना चाहेगा हाँ शशिकला जी
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, since past 3 days, we are listing all this NEP-related orientation program. So in this, we have heard very eminent personality related to this particular issue and topic. So where two speaker told about how to develop the skill and what is the requirement of our future related education, because when we are talking about the NEP 2020, it is more of focusing, restructuring the educational system, what is expected in the future, which was the not fulfilling the criteria, where we are talking about the research related thing, which is not matching, where we can see that there are so many engineering students, those who are like, no, we are having n number of students, those who are taking admission in engineering, but there is no productivity in future, and there is no fruitful there's no outcome that we can see. So that looking at the lacunae, looking at the loophole of this particular thing, education system need to be properly reorganized in such a way where we are more looking toward the outcome, where we can achieve some very good goal for the this one nation, where our nation can stand with the international qualities or international standards, so we can meet that. So what is the requirement of international level, what quality we still have to upgrade, and what resources we are having right now, how we can make best use of the available resources, available skills, and with that what others are required, and in what way we can upgrade our education system with the technology, with the skills, so we can meet the requirement of the future generation, because we are running very fast towards the technological things and all. So we have to definitely upgrade our skills related to everything, where we are talking about the knowledge, Indian knowledge system, so that we have to take hand in hand. So along with the technology, with our very indigenous knowledge, we have to make a balance between these two. So higher education is expected to work toward this particular direction. What this is my understanding, sir.
excellent yeah Apala Shaha
Yes, sir. Sir, I
yeah
actually have certain doubts. In the sense that I always think that should we be incorporating more courses which are vocational by nature into the curriculum, or should we try to make our existing courses more vocational in terms of enhancing the tools that are there within the traditional disciplines? Also, one thing what I feel is because I'm principally from the social sciences, that in this urge to towards technology and towards things that are marketable, we are I wonder if we are losing out on the skills to theorize, or on the skills to which are the traditional skills as well. So how do we strike a balance in terms of when we are trying to draw up a syllabus, or we are trying to put courses together, combinations together for students? These are some of the challenges or questions that I have in my mind, sir.
Very good. So just to answer your question, because you have raised a very pertinent question in terms of the integration of vocational education into this general education, or mainstreaming the vocational education, which the NEP 2020 has also recommended. So we have to be very clear in that sense that we need to integrate skill education into our mainstream education. That is very clear to all of us. But the challenges are many. One is there's a social stigma attached to the vocational education. And this has also been highlighted in the NEP 2020. Because not only in India, but in many other countries where vocational education is doing very well, but still this social stigma is there. Why? Because it is all about working with hands, low income, and because people think that if you are sitting in a room with all air conditioned computers and all, you are a big shot. But if you look at the real situation, if you go to the world of work, or you go to the industries or companies, what they are looking for? They are looking for competencies. Now, what is competency? Competency is knowledge plus skills plus attitude. Now, let's go back to the COVID time when we were all affected by the COVID virus. What happened at that time? We were sitting at home, and everything was being supplied by um, through the supply chain by the various people who were working day and night for us. They were not scared of COVID virus, or they were taking all precautions to keep people healthy or to prevent the spread of the virus, like health workers, for example, farmers, those who were supplying vegetables, fruits, food at your home. No, they were the people who were real warriors who fought COVID at the cost of their life. Even doctors, nurses, and many other like GDA health workers and all. Sanitary workers who were actually sanitizing everything to otherwise people would have died because of germs and all rather than the COVID virus. You just imagine if नगर निगम आपके घर नहीं आती कचरा उठाने तो आपका घर पूरा कचरे से भर जाता तो हम कचरे से ही खत्म हो जाते हैं. So what I'm trying to tell you that people who are working with hands are very important in our lives, but we don't recognize. Now, how do we change this scenario? The challenge is how do we change? So the first thing that we need to do, respect, give respect to carpenters, electricians, plumbers, whenever they come to your home. Treat them as if an IS officer has visited your home, or a governor or prime minister has visited your home. Treat them like that. Don't ignore them. Serve them with water, tea, snacks, whatever uh, they deserve during the time that they are working with you. This is what I have been following, and I found that if we give respect to them, they are with you emotionally, and also technically they will be performing their best. So what we have to ensure is that we need to respect these people who are they are actually working for you, and you are enjoying the fruits of their hard work, like a farmer, he's plowing the field and growing vegetables or cereals or whatever crops that they are growing, and they have to work day and night to make this happen. And if we don't respect them, if we don't give them due income, then one day nobody would like to go for farming. And that is what is happening. A carpenter's son doesn't want to get into carpentry. A farmer's son doesn't want to become a farmer. Why? Because we don't respect them. We don't give them the due income. We think that they are something doing some very lower class jobs. This has to go. Otherwise, we'll be creating more differences between the kind of works or the work forms and that is why we have introduced vocational education from grade 6 onwards. That is at the middle stage. I suppose you all are aware about the different stages of education now that we are talking about: the foundational, preparatory, middle, and the secondary stage, as per the NEP 2020. So in the middle stage, we have introduced vocational education, and we have come out. The NCRT has developed the um, textbook, or which we call it as an activity book on vocational education, and it is titled as Kaushal Bodh. I would request you to please, I will be sharing the website address of our institute, and I would request you to please download this textbook from the website of our institute. You will see that we have talked about three forms of work: live forms, machines and materials, and human services. So we have divided these activities into these three forms so that children, they just don't learn about one aspect of it, but they also learn about the care for animals, for plants, through the life forms, through the projects which they would be doing in the life forms. So, for example, setting up a school kitchen garden, filling a biodiversity register. So that will help them to understand the importance of sustainable agriculture. The second, machines and materials, we have given projects on maker skills, animation, and games. So they will be knowing how to work with machines, the technology, for example, artificial intelligence, machine learning, data analysis. All these things they will be learning through this machines and materials. Then the third one is human services, which includes healthcare, retail, um, community engagement, community services, social work. All these have been categorized into this third, that is the human services. So what I'm saying is one of the very important aspect is that we need to train our children on various tasks which are being performed by these workers, and this will happen only when we start early. And that is why NEP 2020 says that we need to provide vocational education at an early age, because at that age, children are ready to learn. They are ready to acquire skills. Like if you teach a child how to ride a bicycle at an early age, they will be able to do it very fast. But as an adult, if you are asking me to ride a bicycle, which requires a lot of balancing and all, I will have my own apprehensions in learning how to ride a bicycle, because I may fall and break my leg and all those things. So I'll have all kinds of resistance to learn how to ride a bicycle. So the earlier, the better. So one very important aspect that we need to understand is skilling is not just about training children or youth on skills. It's a systematic process. The training has to take place through the three stages of skill development. So the first one is cognitive stage, where children or the youth, they learn about the system. So they learn about the system knowledge, and also they learn the cognitive skills. So one of the cognitive skills is listening skills. If we are not able to train our children or youth on listening skills, they are not ready to listen to the parents, to teachers, or to people in the society. So we have to, right from the early age, we have to train our children on listening skills, effective communication skills, which includes like seven C's of communication: concise, clear, concrete, those kind of things, which you can read more about that, the seven C's of effective communication. Then we have to also focus on self management skills like self control, self awareness. Self management is a very important aspect, because if we are not able to manage our time well, like if I talk about the in the today's context, we are now on social media, and many people are wasting time, sending messages of good morning and all those things. You're not just wasting your time, but also others' time. Why? Because it's not very important to send good morning, good evening, good afternoon, but rather if you send a good message which actually motivates a person, related to life, related to world of work, related to compassion, empathy, related to what somebody has done very good, as an exemplar. That he may be, he or she may be a role model. So if you are sharing those kinds of messages, they are much better than just sending a message of good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. So we have to really think of those aspects. We have to train our children on those aspects. How to reduce the screen time, because they are spending so much of time on computers, mobile, and also their health is being affected. Mental health, social health also, because now children, they don't want to meet others, they don't want to go for get-togethers. They are mostly inside their home or in the workplace or in schools, and so they get lesser time for physical activity. So we need to encourage them to go out, play with other children, so that they learn the teamwork, how you need to cooperate with others, all those social aspects which are very important in life, which we used to do earlier, playing cricket, football, and things like that. So skilling is not just about, you know, uh, imparting training on skills which are related to the livelihood. There's a misnomer with regard to the term of vocational education. So whenever we talk about vocational education, they say, people say that अच्छा इसके बाद इसको नौकरी मिल जाएगी, इसके बाद इसको काम मिल जाएगा. That is not the thing. ये जो है गलत फहमी है, लोगों ने दिमाग में डाल ली है. What is important is we have to prepare them as uh, productive citizens of the country, that so that they don't get into nefarious activities like drugs, drinking wine and all those things without any understanding. So people say that drinking wine is not bad, but if you drink too much, that is harmful. So that also applies for everything: use of mobile, use of internet, use of computers. It's not bad. Technology is not bad. But if you are making excessive use of technology, that is bad. So we have to explain our children about all these aspects in terms of the skilling. Now, what are those skills that we need to impart to our children or the youth? Living skills, like for example, making tea. stitching buttons, doing small activities which are like gardening and cooking and all those things, which are essentially needed in our life, because हम सब अकेले आए हैं और अकेले जाएंगे. So that means हमें वो सारी चीज़ें आनी चाहिए जो हमारे जीने के लिए चाहिए. हमें खाना है, जैसे कपड़ा सिलना आना चाहिए, ये छोटी छोटी एक्टिविटीज़ जो है वो हमें सबको आनी चाहिए. So this is a universal skill. Living skill is a universal skill. Everybody should learn that. Second is life skills. अब life skills जो है, that helps you in managing your life very well. Decision making, problem solving, analytical thinking, logical reasoning, critical thinking. These are all life skills. जो वो भी सब इंसान को एक्वायर करनी चाहिए. Third one is your 21st century skills, like digital skills or ICT skills. Then जो artificial intelligence, learning about machine learning, coding, all these things are very important in our life now, because if you want good jobs or jobs with higher income, you need to learn all these kinds of skills, which are like 21st century skills. Then the vocational skills or technical skills. Now, it's not just about learning vocational skills, but how to improve upon your skills from time to time. So that means upskilling. So it is about skilling, upskilling, and reskilling. So at times, you feel like that you need to unlearn certain things and learn new things. So we have to prepare our youth as lifelong learners. They should not be just learners, but they should be lifelong learners. So skilling, reskilling, upskilling, all these things should be there. So how are we going to prepare them as lifelong learners? We need to provide good institutions which are not just focusing on theory, but they should be focusing more on practical. So the paradigm shift that we need to bring about in our education system is from rote learning to experiential learning. So Shashi Kalaji, you mentioned about the problems that the engineering colleges are facing. There's a low enrollment, and the engineers which are being produced, they are not productive because they are not getting the kind of practical training that they should be getting in these engineering institutions. It's more theory than practical. For example, we have been teaching communication skills. Now, communication skills cannot be taught. They have to be learned by the learners, by reading newspaper, by listening to radio, by listening to, I mean, if they are learning English, they can listen to BBC and other broadcasts. If they want to be a good writer or journalist or get into this journalism, they have to keep on writing on their own. That means creative writing is more important than just writing. So this difference we need to understand when we are training our students. So communication skills have to be student centered. It can't be teacher centered. If you are teaching communication in a classroom as a teacher or a trainer, you are making a big mistake, because you are improving your skills. Students are not going to improve their skills, because you are talking, they are not talking. You are writing, they are not writing. So communication skills cannot be taught. They have to be learned by the learners. You have to guide them. So teacher's role is of a facilitator. So there are many other skills which needs to be learner centered or student centered. Then only you can see a drastic change in the education system. And the second thing, which Shashi Kalaji, you also talked about the learning outcomes. Now, this is another paradigm shift that we need to bring in from learning objectives to learning outcomes. Now, what is that? Learning outcomes are the statement which tells the learner and the teacher that what the learner would be able to know and do at the end of the session, or whatever the class, or of the academic year. So what you have to do is you have to define the learning outcomes. Now let's say, I'll give you one example of typewriting. So we do typing there on a computer. So what you will, the learning outcome can be a simple or more complex. Now, if I tell you a simple learning outcome, the student should be able to type at a speed of 20 words per minute. Now you keep on increasing the speed. Type at a speed of 40 words per minute. Type at a speed of 60 words, 80 words, 120. That is how you define the complexity of that skill level that the student needs to acquire after the training, right? Now, if you want to make it complex, how would you do it? The student will be able to type at a speed of 60 words per minute without making any spelling mistake. Now, if you want to take him to the next level, you add without making any spelling and grammatical mistake. Now, you imagine if you have trained students on these learning outcomes, you will be producing DTPs, data entry operators, like who would be able to do this task very well. But what is the situation today? You won't get such DTPs. They don't know the spelling of many of those words because they don't read dictionaries and they don't type perfectly. They don't know the grammar of the language. And as a result, they just have the skill of typing, and that too at very low speed. Now, this is why we need to train our students on specific learning outcomes defined by the industry or the employer. So, we need to go to the employers, ask them what kind of skilled people they are looking for. आपको कैसे लोग चाहिए? आपकी क्या एक्सपेक्टेशंस? लाइक आई आस्क यू कि आपकी इस सेशन से क्या एक्सपेक्टेशंस है? उसी तरह अगर आप एम्प्लॉयर्स के पास जाते हैं और उनसे पूछते हैं कि आप बताइए आपको कैसा डेटा एंट्री ऑपरेटर चाहिए, किस तरह का चाहिए आपको, तो वो बताएंगे हमें इतनी स्पीड उसकी होनी चाहिए, इसको ग्रामर सही होनी चाहिए उसकी, इंग्लिश में हो या हिंदी में हो या किसी भी लैंग्वेज में हो, और उसका जो है वो स्पेलिंग मिस्टेक्स नहीं करे वो. सो देन यू वर्क ऑन दैट, you prepare your own curriculum and train your students on those standards. You will see a drastic change in the whole world of work. But अभी क्या हुआ है, हमने सालों से इस पे काम नहीं किया. उसका नतीजा क्या हुआ कि जो हमारी वर्कफोर्स निकल के आई वो अनऑर्गेनाइज सेक्टर में ज़्यादा है और ऑर्गेनाइज में कम है. लाइक 90% ऑफ द वर्कफोर्स is in the unorganized sector. Carpenters, plumbers, electricians, fitters, scaffolders, welders, they are all in the unorganized sector. Organized sectors में 10% ही लोग जो है काम कर रहे हैं. बट दूसरी कंट्रीज में अगर आप देखेंगे वहाँ उल्टा है. They are more into the organized sectors rather than unorganized sector. सो हमें क्या करना है, हमें लोगों को जो अनऑर्गेनाइज सेक्टर में है उनके स्किल्स को इम्प्रूव करना है. लिटरेसी न्यूमरेसी पे काम करना है, बिकॉज मैनी ऑफ देम आर ड्रॉप आउट. 5वीं के बाद छोड़ दिया, किसी ने 8वीं के बाद क्लास करके छोड़ दी, कोई 10वीं पास है, तो उससे क्या हो रहा है, वो आगे पढ़ नहीं पा रहे, ना ही पढ़ना भी चाहते हैं, क्योंकि उन्होंने कहा कि हमने तो दाल रोटी का इंतज़ाम कर लिया है, हमें अब इंसान नहीं बनना, हम तो दाल रोटी में ही खुश हैं. तो वो आगे कुछ नहीं करना चाहते. गलती किसकी है? सिस्टम की. हमारे एजुकेशन सिस्टम की गलती है कि उन्होंने पढ़ा लिखा के वर्ल्ड ऑफ वर्क में नहीं. दूसरी तरफ क्या हो रहा है, एजुकेटेड अनएम्प्लॉयड तैयार कर रहे हैं, जो पढ़े लिखे तो हैं बट उनके पास कॉम्पिटेंसीज नहीं है। तो ये डाइकोटोमी जो है वो क्रिएट हुई है किस वजह से, क्योंकि हमने इसमें दोनों में सामंजस्य जो कहते हैं इंटीग्रेशन की जो बात आ रही, उसको हम नहीं ला पाए इतने सालों में, कि नॉलेज भी जरूरी है, स्किल्स भी जरूरी है, और बिहेवियरल एस्पेक्ट जो हमारा इफेक्टिव डोमेन है। क्योंकि आप लोगों को पता होगा ब्लूम्स टैक्सोनॉमी के अनुसार दे आर 3 डोमेन्स ऑफ लर्निंग: कॉग्निटिव डोमेन, साइकोमोटर डोमेन एंड इफेक्टिव डोमेन। तो हमने ज़्यादा काम किस पे किया, कॉग्निटिव डोमेन पे। हमने साइकोमोटर और इफेक्टिव डोमेन पे ज़्यादा एजुकेशन सिस्टम में काम नहीं किया। सो एज अ रिजल्ट व्हाट हैपेंड इज दैट वी हैव प्रोड्यूस्ड people who are good for information, who are good for knowledge society, but when it comes to working society, we have very few people who really work hard day and night to produce something. Most of them, they are depending on others. So I generally give examples of people like, the teachers or uh, those who come to our training programs that आपने जैसे चश्मा पहना हुआ है, तो ये चश्मा किसने बनाया, ऑप्टिशियन ने। आपने जो ब्यूटी पार्लर में जाके मेकअप कराया, अपने हेयर स्टाइल अपना ठीक किया, आप जो कपड़े पहने हैं वो टेलर ने सिले, आप जूते पहने हैं वो कॉबलर ने सिले, आप जो घड़ी लगाए हैं वो कहीं फैक्ट्री में बनी है। तो आप क्या कर रहे हैं, हाउ यू आर कंट्रीब्यूटिंग टू द सोसाइटी। आप तो सिर्फ भोग रहे हैं, मतलब चीजें जो आपको मिल रही हैं उसको एंजॉय कर रहे हैं, आपका कंट्रीब्यूशन कहाँ है। तो आप अगर ज्ञान नहीं दे रहे हैं, आप अगर समाज में कुछ बदलाव नहीं ला पा रहे हैं एज अ टीचर और रिफॉर्मर और फिलोसफर, वॉट एवर, सोशल साइंटिस्ट और साइकोलॉजिस्ट और वॉट एवर यू आर डूइंग, अगर वो आप नहीं कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहे हैं तो आप समाज में कुछ नहीं कर रहे, आप सिर्फ उससे फायदा ही उठा रहे हैं। सो कहने का मतलब ये है कि हमें हर इंसान को ये रियलाइज कराना पड़ेगा कि आपको प्रोडक्टिव होना है। यू हैव वट एवर फील्ड यू गेट इन, आप किसी भी फील्ड को पकड़िए, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। म्यूजिक हो सकता है, डांस हो सकता है, कुछ भी हो सकता है उसमें, बट आप उसमें एक्सेल करिए, उसमें प्रोडक्टिव बनिए, उसमें समाज के प्रति जो भी आप कंट्रीब्यूट कर सकते हैं, यू डू दैट, देन ओनली यू आर अ प्रोडक्टिव सिटीजन। तो हमें क्या करना है, हम इधर उधर के कामों में बच्चों को लगा के उनका टाइम खराब करते हैं। 12 साल जब वो स्कूल में रहते हैं और उनको अगर टीचर सही दिशा नहीं दिखा पाता है तो उनकी जिंदगी बर्बाद हो जाती है। और आज के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में इट इज़ वेरी नेसेसरी टू इम्पार्ट स्किल्स। वाई? बिकॉज पहले क्या था कि गवर्नमेंट जॉब्स बहुत थी, अब क्या है, प्राइवेट जॉब्स ज़्यादा है, गवर्नमेंट जॉब्स बहुत कम बची हैं। और प्राइवेट एम्प्लॉयर्स जो होते हैं वो क्या देखते हैं, वो कॉम्पिटेंसीज देखते हैं, सर्टिफिकेट और क्वालिफिकेशन से उनको कोई लेना देना। वो आपको इसलिए हायर करते हैं कि आप जो टास्क वो असाइन करेंगे आपको या आपसे करवाना चाहेंगे, आप उसको बहुत ही कम समय में बेहतर ढंग से आप डिलीवर कर पाएंगे। दिस इज व्हाट दे लुक फॉर। आपके पास ढेरों कागज भरे पड़े, आप 15 तो सर्टिफिकेट लेके जाइए, और जो वो करवाना चाहते हैं वो नहीं कर पा रहे आप, तो उन कागजों का कोई फायदा नहीं, उनके लिए रद्दी है वो। बिकॉज उनका ये कहना है कि अगर आपसे वो टाइपिंग कराना चाहते हैं, मान लीजिए कि वो आपको एज अ टाइपिस्ट हायर करना चाहते हैं, दे एक्सपेक्ट कि आपको 60 वर्ड्स या 80 वर्ड्स पर मिनट की स्पीड पे आप टाइप करके उनको फटाफट ला के देंगे, और आप नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, आपके पास 15 तो सर्टिफिकेट है, कोई फायदा नहीं है। सो व्हाट इज इम्पोर्टेंट इज we need to impart training to our students on competencies which are required in the world of work. जो हमारे समाज में, जो इंडस्ट्री में, जो कंपनीज में, जो एनजीओज में भी जैसे सोशल वर्क कर रहे हैं, तो सोशल वर्कर एक अच्छा बनने के लिए यू हैव टू इम्पार्ट दो स्किल्स। तो हमें उस तरह की ट्रेनिंग बच्चों को देनी होगी जो आगे चल के उनके काम आए, जीवन अच्छा बिताने के लिए, अच्छी एक लाइफस्टाइल बेहतर तरीके से, जिसमें फिजिकल हेल्थ, मेंटल हेल्थ, सोशल हेल्थ, ये सारी चीज़ों का हमें ध्यान रखना है। एक और बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट पहलू है कि हमारे करिकुलम किताबें जो हैं वो बहुत ज़्यादा ओवरलोडेड हैं थ्योरी से। हम कोशिश ये करते हैं कि जितनी ज़्यादा थ्योरी पढ़ाओगे उतना बेहतर वो जानकार बनेगा। ये एक मिथ है, बट द रियलिटी इज़, अगर आप लाइफ में देखेंगे जितने भी लोग सक्सेसफुल हुए हैं अपनी कोई भी फील्ड में, जैसे क्रिकेटर्स हो गए, फुटबॉलर्स हो गए, हॉकी प्लेयर्स हो गए स्पोर्ट्स में, बिजनेसमैन, कंप्यूटर्स में जैसे बिल गेट्स हैं, स्टीव जॉब्स हैं, और बहुत से क्रिकेटर्स हैं, दे आर मोस्टली कॉलेज और स्कूल ड्रॉप आउट। क्यों? क्योंकि दे वर वेरी क्लियर इन देयर माइंड कि वो जीवन में करना क्या चाहते हैं। हम उनको बहुत सारी डिग्रियां देना चाहते थे, सर्टिफिकेट्स देना चाहते, उन्होंने रिजेक्ट कर दिया स्कूल को, कॉलेज को। नहीं, हमें नहीं ये सब चाहिए आपका। हम तो जीवन में वो करना चाहते हैं जो हमारा पैशन है, जिसमें हमारा इंटरेस्ट है, जिसमें हमारा एप्टीट्यूड है। वी वांट टू डू दैट। आपकी डिग्री सर्टिफिकेट का मुझे कोई इस्तेमाल नहीं करना, वो बेकार है मेरे लिए। इफ दैट इज द सिचुएशन, देन वी आर गोइंग रॉन्ग समवेयर। और इसके लिए हमें असेसमेंट सिस्टम को ठीक करना बहुत ज़रूरी है। हमारा जो असेसमेंट और इवैल्यूएशन सिस्टम है वो एकदम गलत है। वो सिर्फ मेमोरी या रिकॉल मेमोरी को टेस्ट करता है क्वेश्चन पेपर के थ्रू, उसमें स्किल की कोई जगह नहीं है। रटा और जाके एग्ज़ाम में वॉमिट कर दिया, बहुत अच्छे नंबर आ गए, पूरा सब बहुत खुश हो गए, पेरेंट्स भी बहुत खुश हो गए, टीचर भी खुश हो गए, मेरे स्टूडेंट्स देखिए कितना बढ़िया मार्क्स ला रहे हैं और हैं किसी काम के नहीं। ये वो धीरे से बोलते हैं, हल्ला मचाते हैं, मिठाई बांटते हैं पूरे मोहल्ले में, बड़े खुश होते हैं। और जब वो बेरोजगार की लाइन में वो बच्चे जाके खड़े होते हैं तो ये मुंह छिपाए घूमते हैं कि अरे हमने तो कुछ किया ही नहीं था, हमने तो कहा, हमने तो पढ़ा दिया था। तो इसके ऊपर एक कहानी है, राम और श्याम कोविड के बाद मिले। तो श्याम ने राम से पूछा क्या किया? राम ने कहा मैंने खाना बनाया, गार्डनिंग करी, ये सब किया, वीडियोस बनाए, और मैंने अपने टॉमी को, जो उसके साथ कुत्ता था, उसको मैंने जो है सीटी बजाना सिखा दिया। मैंने कहा अरे वाह, कमाल हो गया, कुत्ता और सीटी बजा। तो श्याम ने कहा ये तो तुम कुछ ज़्यादा ही बोल रहे हो, ऐसा हो ही नहीं सकता। मैंने कहा नहीं विश्वास हो रहा, पूछ लो, टॉमी तो बगल में खड़ा है। तो उसने टॉमी से कहा टॉमी विसल, टॉमी सीटी बजाओ। टॉमी भौंकने लगा। उन्होंने कहा तो भौंक रहा है, तुम कह रहे हो मैंने सीटी बजाना सिखा दिया। तो उसने कहा तुमने मेरी बात को ध्यान से नहीं सुना। मैंने क्या कहा? मैंने कहा मैंने सीटी बजाना सिखा दिया। मैंने कब कहा इसने सीख लिया? सो दिस इज वेयर द प्रॉब्लम लाइज। हम कहते हैं हमने सिलेबस कवर कर दिया, हमने पीरियड्स ले लिए, हमने एग्जाम कंडक्ट करा दिया, हमने मार्क्स दे दिया, हमने सर्टिफिकेट दे दिया, हमारा काम खत्म। अब बच्चे ने सीखा नहीं सीखा ये हमारी जिम्मेदारी। और ये समाज भी यही कहता है ये हमारी जिम्मेदारी नहीं है। अब बेरोजगार घूम रहा है, हम क्या करें? सरकार भी कहती है भाई हम कितने लोगों को नौकरी दें, हमारे पास पैसा ही नहीं है। और वही आप देखिए, जो लोग एंटरप्राइजिंग होते हैं, रिस्क टेकिंग एबिलिटी रखते हैं, जो होशियार होते हैं अपनी, वो लाइफ में सक्सेसफुल होते हैं एंड दे शाइन इन द वर्ल्ड ऑफ वर्क। हालांकि उनके पास वो डिग्रियां इतनी नहीं होती, इतने सर्टिफिकेट्स भी नहीं होते, बट क्योंकि वो एक पर्टिकुलर स्किल को पकड़ के आगे बढ़ते हैं, इसलिए वो सक्सेसफुल होते हैं। तो कहने का मतलब ये है कि हमें बच्चों को जब वो स्कूल छोड़ें या कॉलेज पास आउट हो या जो भी करें, तो कम से कम एक या दो स्किल्स सेट्स जो हैं उनको हमें तैयार करके भेजना चाहिए बाहर। आपको बताएं, एक टैक्सी में ट्रैवल कर रहे थे दिल्ली में, तो वहाँ पे एक जो ड्राइवर था, जो उससे बातचीत हो रही थी, तो बहुत पढ़ा लिखा लगा हमें। तो हमने उससे पूछा, आप तो आप वेरी वेल ड्रेस्ड हैं। तो हमने कहा, आप लगता है बहुत पढ़े लिखे हो, अच्छे घर से हो, आप टैक्सी चला रहे हो, जनरली लोग कम पढ़े लिखे होते हैं इस तरह से। हमने कहा, सर मैं एमबीए हूँ और मैं इंश्योरेंस कंपनी में काम करता था। आई लॉस्ट माई जॉब ड्यूरिंग कोविड एंड आई स्टार्टेड ड्राइविंग कार, तो कह रहे थे मेरे पास होम लोन था, मेरे पास बच्चे पढ़ रहे थे, उनकी फ़ीस देने तक के लिए पैसे नहीं बचे थे। तो मेरे दोस्तों ने सलाह दी कि तुम टैक्सी क्यों नहीं चलाते हो, बेरोज़गार ऐसे घूम के सब पूरा पैसा तुम्हारा ख़त्म हो जाएगा, मकान बिक जाएगा, सब कुछ हो जाएगा। सो देन आई took their advice and I started driving कैब, ओला उबर इसमें जो है मैं कर रहा हूँ, और मैं आज बहुत अच्छा पैसा जो है कमा पा रहा हूँ। सो दिस इज़ व्हाट ही टोल्ड मी। तो हमने कहा कि ये तो बहुत ही कमाल का, मतलब तुम्हारे देखो एक स्किल जो था तुम्हारे पास, यू कुड यूटिलाइज दैट स्किल, और उससे जो है आज आप अपनी दाल रोटी चला रहे हो। उसने कहा, मैंने पूरा होम लोन चुका दिया अब, और मेरे बच्चे अभी और अच्छे स्कूल में पढ़ रहे हैं, इसीलिए मैं ये गाड़ी चलाना नहीं है, मैं आई एम नॉट आफ्टर जॉब नाउ। कहने का मतलब ये है कि अगर हम पढ़े लिखे भी हैं, मान लीजिए बहुत हाईली एजुकेटेड है, और कोई भी काम जिससे हमारी इनकम होती है, ईमानदारी से काम करके उससे पैसा कमा रहे, तो वो काम छोटा नहीं होता। हम लोग उस काम को छोटा बनाते हैं, या हमारा समाज जो है उस काम को छोटा समझता है। ये भ्रम है। बट द रियलिटी इज, भूखे पेट भजन ना होए गोपाला। अगर आपको हम भजन सुनाएं और आपका पेट खाली है, तो आप कहेंगे पहले मेरे को रोटी दो, फिर उसके बाद भजन सुनाना। तो समाज को ये समझना पड़ेगा कि भजन उनको सुनाइए जिनका पेट भरा हो, जिनका पेट खाली है उनको पहले आप कौशल दीजिए, उनको योग्य बनाइए, उनको समाज में अच्छा काम दीजिए, उनको रिस्पेक्ट दीजिए, और उनको अच्छा इंसान बनाइए। दैट इज़ मोर इम्पॉर्टेंट देन व्हाट यू आर गिविंग देम थ्रू दी एजुकेशन। ढेर सारा करिकुलम, किताबें, बहुत सी क्लासेस विदाउट एनी आउटकम। सो educators and teachers or the faculty members, they need to understand whatever they are doing should be directed towards building the character and the skills of the children as well as the youth. ये दो चीज़ों पे अगर आप काम करते हैं, कैरेक्टर एंड स्किल बिल्डिंग, नॉलेज तो आप दे ही रहे हैं। आप देखिए आर्ट है, जैसे आर्ट में कितना ज्ञान चाहिए, कुछ नहीं चाहिए। आप एक फॉरेनर रशियन आती है आपके पास और आपसे आर्ट सीखना चाहती है, आपको उसकी भाषा नहीं भी पता, उसको आपकी भाषा नहीं पता, लेकिन आप आर्ट सिखा देंगे। सो आर्ट हैज़ नो लैंग्वेज। वहाँ पे क्या है, स्किल है। स्किल से आप जो है, तो स्किल ट्रांसफ़र करना है हमें। एज टीचर्स वी हैव टू ट्रांसफ़र आवर स्किल्स टू आवर स्टूडेंट्स, but for that you need to first acquire those skills which are to be transferred. आपको अगर स्विमिंग नहीं आती तो आप स्विमिंग नहीं सिखा सकते। आपको फुटबॉल खेलना नहीं आता, आप फुटबॉल नहीं सिखा सकते। आपको कम्युनिकेशन स्किल्स आपकी अच्छी नहीं है, तो आप कम्युनिकेशन स्किल्स बच्चों की इम्प्रूव नहीं कर सकते। आपको टीचिंग मेथडोलॉजीज किसके लिए कब कौन सी इस्तेमाल करनी है उसके बारे में नहीं पता है, तो आप एक बेहतर टीचर नहीं बन सकते। You cannot teach every topic like through theory or one particular method या lecture method। जैसे हम लोग क्या कर रहे थे सालों से, लेक्चर मेथड से सारा पढ़ाई करा रहे, which is wrong. You should use role plays, assignments, group discussion, projects. There are n number of games. Games are a very good method of teaching even adults. सॉफ्ट स्किल्स जो हैं आप गेम्स के थ्रू बहुत अच्छा सिखा सकते हैं. So what I'm trying to convince you is that we need to focus on skill, and skill development is essentially needed for every child and youth. So I'll just quickly go through the presentation, and then I'll be taking some questions from you, because I want that this session should be more interactive rather than one way communication. And I'll just keep on talking and talking, and then there's no learning outcome. Right. So I'll just first share my presentation, and then we go back to the question answers. Okay. So I'll be talking about the skill development, as you are all aware of this. India has the advantage of a demographic dividend. A demographic dividend refers to a period when a country's population is predominantly young and working age. And it refers to the economic growth potential that can arise from having a large proportion of the population in the working age group, typically between 15 and 59 years old. This can lead to economic growth due to increased labor force participation. Now, what are the opportunities and challenges before India? We have to continuously work on the economic growth, because today we have the largest population in the world. We have surpassed China in terms of the population. And a large young workforce can drive economic growth by fueling innovation, entrepreneurship, and productivity. तो हमें करना क्या है, हमें बच्चों को इनोवेटिव बनाना है, क्रिएटिव बनाना है, और एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप की तरफ ले जाना है, जहाँ पे दे जस्ट डोंट सीक जॉब्स बट आल्सो दे आर जॉब क्रिएटर्स, और उनको प्रोडक्टिव बनाना है. A large working age population can lead to increased labor force participation, which can boost economic activity and productivity. इससे क्या होगा, जब हमारे पास यंग वर्किंग पॉपुलेशन ज़्यादा होगी, तो हमारे उनकी जो जैसे आदत है कि भाई हमें पैसा बचाना है, चीज़ों को और करना है, तो इससे हमारे पास और फंड्स जनरेट होंगे, सेविंग्स होगी, उससे हम एजुकेशन, हेल्थ केयर और इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में इन्वेस्ट कर पाएंगे. India needs to invest in infrastructure such as transportation, energy, and healthcare to support economic growth and improve the quality of life for its citizens. We have to also capitalize on the demographic dividend, and which we need to invest in education skill development to ensure that its population is equipped with the skills needed for the workforce. Now, we also need to address social inequalities and ensuring that all segments of the population have access to education, healthcare, and employment opportunities. We have to make skill development programs accessible to all segments of the population, especially in rural areas. Public private partnerships. We have to strengthen public private partnerships to increase the outreach and enhance the efficiency and effectiveness of skill development initiatives. We have to align skill development programs with industry needs, which are essential for effective outcomes and a smooth transition from the world of education to the world of work. तो हम देखेंगे कि जैसे स्कूल में अगर हमने स्किल्स बेहतर इम्पार्ट किए, तो बच्चा आगे चल के वर्ल्ड ऑफ वर्क में जाने में उसको बहुत सुविधा होगी. इसी तरह कॉलेजेस, यूनिवर्सिटीज़, पॉलिटेक्निक्स, ITIs, प्रधानमंत्री कौशल केंद्र, इन सब में जहाँ पे भी स्किल डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम्स हो रहा है, उनको हमें इस तरह से बनाना होगा कि विच मीट्स द नीड्स ऑफ द इंडस्ट्री और द वर्ल्ड ऑफ वर्क. Quality assurance, ensuring the quality of training programs and certification. Developing digital skills is essential for the workforce. Now, coming to the recommendations of the NEP for school education on vocational education. So, it talks about reimagining vocational education for social status elevation, changing the perception of students and other stakeholders and creating better employment opportunities for vocational pass outs. No hard separation between arts and sciences, between curricular and extracurricular activities, between vocational and academic streams, to eliminate harmful hierarchies amongst and silos between different areas of learning. A holistic and multidisciplinary education for developing well rounded individuals who possess critical 21st century capacities in arts, humanities, languages, sciences, social sciences, and professional, technical, and vocational fields. For higher education, NEP 2020 has recommended that a national higher education qualifications framework is to be formulated, and UGC has already done this. So I would request you all to please download this document on National Higher Education Qualification Framework and read through that. You'll get to know many things about the qualifications and also how the framework needs to be implemented. Multidisciplinary approach and research, 4 year undergraduate degree with research. Flexibility, multiple exit options. Students can get qualification by studying for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years. A student will be awarded a diploma for 1 year, advanced diploma for 2 year, bachelor's degree for the 3 year courses as well as the 4 year courses. Then academic bank of credit. I suppose you are all aware about this ABC, Academic Bank of Credit, which has been launched by the UGC. You can accumulate the credits in this bank, and that can be transferred, or you can get exemption for those credits. Focus on research by adding 4th year to the degree with research in graduation. Master's degree of 1 year, master's degree program of 2 year, where the second year will entirely focus on research. Integrated UG and PG degree of 5 year will continue, and discontinuation of the MPhil program. Then, with regard to the government initiatives that have been taken over these years, particularly when this national policy on skill development and entrepreneurship 2015 was launched, and it talks about skilling at scale with speed and standard and sustainability. Now we have the national education policy, which also focuses on skill development, because we need to integrate skill education with general education. And I'll be talking about this in detail, that how we need to approach in terms of the integration. I'll give you one example of that later on. Now, National Skill Development Mission is was launched in 2015 to provide vocational training to a large number of people and create a skilled workforce. Skill India Mission, this umbrella initiative aims to skill India's youth and make them globally competitive. National Skill Qualifications Framework, which was notified in 2013, uh, to bring about standardization and to regulate vocational education training in the country. It aims to ensure that the skills acquired by individuals through various VT programs are comparable and recognized nationally. So it had 10 levels. Now it was amended in 2023, and it has now 8 levels. So I gave you one example of typewriting about how the levels can be categorized, or the hierarchy of the levels can be established by making them more complex over the various stages of education. Now, coming to the national occupation standards. Now, these are standards are defined by the industry through the sector skill councils, which are the representatives of the industry. So there are 36 sector skill councils, like in agriculture, IT, ITS, beauty and wellness, logistics, sports. So likewise, we have now 36 sector skill councils, which are working in uh, providing standardized curriculum as well as the uh, teaching learning materials. Industry relevance, certification, all these things are very important. I have spoken about this. Quality assurance, NSQF promotes quality assurance in BT programs by setting standards and guidelines for curriculum development, assessment, and certification. Flexibility allows in designing VT programs to meet the specific needs of the institute or the industries. And then who are the stakeholders in the skill development? Ministry of Education, Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, University Grants Commission. You might be aware that the UGC is running BWalk and MWalk through the various universities and colleges. There is a NCVT, National Council for Vocational Education Training, which develops standards, curriculum, and assessment procedures for vocational education training. National Skill Development Corporation is there, which is a public-private partnership that promotes skill development and creates employment opportunities. This is our institute, PSS, Central Institute of Vocational Education. It is a constituent unit of NCRT involved in development of vocational curricula, textbooks, and digital resources. Conducts research and training of key functionaries and teachers in vocational education. So there are universities. Now we also have skill universities like Vishwakarma Skill University in Haryana. So there are other universities in Rajasthan, Gujarat, and other states are also working in. Madhya Pradesh also has a private skill university. So there are colleges, polytechnics, and schools. In schools, we are offering vocational education under Samagra Shiksha, which is a centrally sponsored scheme of Ministry of Education. And the vocational subjects are being offered from grades 9 to 12. I told you about the introduction of a new vocational education subject from this year in schools, that is from grade 6th onwards. So, 6th, 7th, 8th, and that is the middle stage. We have introduced a new vocational education, a vocational subject. And we have developed the activity book titled Kaushal Both for the grade 6. We are working on activity book for grade 7 and 8. Private sector companies and employer sector skill councils I mentioned about earlier. Non-government organizations are there, international organizations are there, individuals, that is student trainees, and skilled workers are also looking for reskilling and retooling in terms of developing advanced skills or future skills. Now, coming to the future skills, what are those skills that we need to develop for preparing our children for the future jobs? Data science and data security skills, artificial intelligence, machine learning, cloud computing, Internet of Things. Outcome based curriculum is a pedagogical approach that focuses on defining desired student outcomes or learning objectives at the beginning of the course or the program. Now, what are the strategies for the future that we need to adopt so that we not just impart skill training to our students, but also increase the capacity of these institutions for access and providing equity and equality and also the quality education to our children or the youth. Creating additional enrollment capacity in HEIs to serve the incremental demand for higher education to increase gross enrollment ratio from 27.1 to 50% by 2030. Look beyond traditional jobs for imparting soft skills and vocational training skills and preparing employable students. Training delivery through a mix of online and face-to-face mode for developing cognitive and psychomotor skills and reaching the unreached. So at present, 95 higher education institutions are offering 1,149 ODL programs and 66 HEIs are offering 371 online programs. Strengthen skill development and its linkages with entrepreneurship for promotion of research and innovation around 7,568 institutions, innovation councils, and around 104 idea development, evaluation, and applications labs have been set up. We need to focus on research related to artificial intelligence, power technologies and innovations, quantum technology, smart manufacturing, etc. We need to implement national professional standards for teachers to improve quality of teaching and training, collaborate with industry for industry relevant research, prepare students to take greater responsibility for the learning outcomes, and become reflective learners rather than just information receivers. Make use of technology for teaching learning like virtual skill labs, augmented learning, virtual reality, etc. Foster partnership with educational institutions such as ITIs, polytechnics, and vocational training providers. Ensure performance based assessment and measuring outcomes. Collaborate with global institutions and industries to conduct collaborative research and organize student and faculty exchange programs. We need to have recognition of prior learning framework and from a consumption of allocated funds to outcomes from utilized funds. Flexibility in offering of courses. So, National Higher Education Qualification Framework, National Credit Framework, Academic Bank of Credit, they have already been introduced and we need to implement that. So, thank you very much for that patient hearing. I suppose if you have any questions, you can ask me.
Uh, Thank you so much, Swarup sir, for this very knowledgeable session. It was really a wonderful presentation. So now I'd request our participants, if you have any query, any doubt, you can just ask your questions. You can put your question in front of sir. Yes,
Yeah.
Jayana.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good
Sir, please let me know from which standard or class the skill development studies should be started.
So we have done it from sixth standard, and the reason being we need to impart skills at an early age, so that they are exposed to a variety of skills like living skills, life skills, and all those.
Any other question? So,
In China and Japan, they are teaching cooking, cleaning. So children, when they come to the school, they clean their class, sweep the floors of the school, and then they enter into the school. Little children, like starting from seventh or eighth years. So that is the kind of thing that has happened. Okay, thank you.
okay, sir. Thank you so
Yeah,
much, sir.
thank you.
Thanks
Yeah.
a lot.
Bye.
Thank you.